Welcome to episode number 9 of the Sub 220 Marathon Project video series, which is week 9 of the 12-week marathon specific training block that I'm documenting on my journey to attempting to break 2 hours and 20 minutes for the marathon at the Berlin Marathon in just under 3 weeks' time now. Thank you so much to everyone that has tuned in previous episodes, and especially thank you to those that have been using our discount codes of the two major sponsors of this video series, Soar Running and Top 4 Running, which I'd like to thank both of those before going into the week of training and showcasing some footage from a gym workout that took place in this week of training that is the 9th week of the marathon specific training block. The main sponsor of this video series is Soar Running, based out of the UK, my go-to running apparel brand for all things training and racing. Soar Running apparel was born in 2016 in the UK, and they have become wildly popular throughout the UK and Europe and slowly making their way through to the US. It's been awesome to see some people running in the Soar Running gear out here in Boulder over the last couple of weeks. Soar Running make premium running apparel for both summer and winter training. I've been using their gear all throughout this series, and I highly recommend their gear for anyone looking for a high quality running apparel brand. You can use the code in the code in the description of this video to score 15% off all of the Soar Running apparel product. So do check out the link in the description of this video to score 15% off your next purchase at Soar Running. Top 4 Running are the second sponsor of this video series, one of Europe's biggest online running retail stores, stocking all the top brands at the lowest prices, and you can score an even further discount on their already low prices by using the code in the description of this video and also the link. Top 4 Running have supplied me with all of my running, training shoes and also racing shoes leading to the Berlin Marathon, and I'm really thankful to be working with Top 4 Running in this video series and into the future as well. So do check out their website, and we'd really appreciate it if you could make your next purchase of your training shoes or racing shoes at Top 4 Running. So do check out the link in the description of this video. Let's get straight into the 3 favorite questions of the week before going through the week of training that was the 9th week of the marathon training block. First question from Marco Lim. In fact, I've had this question a lot. I've just avoided answering to this point. Matt, why are you coughing always? Okay, so I suffer from asthma quite badly. I need to take 2 medicines to keep it at bay. But I did contract COVID around 2.5 to 3 months ago now. Just at the start of the block, I was hit very lightly, but it did trigger the cough that does come with asthma, and I've struggled to get over it. I have doubled the medicine, and it just hasn't seemed to completely get rid of it. So I do apologise for there being quite a bit of coughing through these episodes. Obviously, prefer not to have that happen myself, but it is a combination of having quite bad asthma and the COVID as well. So hopefully that answers that question. David Stoker, who do you think you are? Office reference if you're a fan. Actual question, growing up, who were your favourite runners, or who did you look up to and follow closely? Okay, so I actually wasn't a runner at all until about the age of 18. I was playing football, but once I did start running just before I turned 18, I was obviously a huge fan of Craig Mottram, who was in his heyday at that point in time, one of Australia's best ever distance runners, who still holds the 5K world record, I believe, 5,000 on the track. He does. I know Stuart McSwain almost beat it the other day. I was a huge fan of Craig Mottram. I was actually lucky enough to do a little bit of training with him a few years later when I was in London. I was just helping him in a few workouts before, I think it was the 2010 Commonwealth Games. It could have been the 2011 World Champs as well, so some time ago now. So I was a huge fan of Craig Mottram. I was also a huge fan of Hicham El Guerrouj. He was the best miler at the time that I was just getting into running, and being an 815 guy at the time, I was obviously looking up to him. David Rudisha too. I was actually absolutely stoked to meet him in Kenya on my first trip. That was a really good experience, but I'd say those 3 were the 3 I looked up to in my early days of running. Richard Thompson. These episodes are getting more cinematic in scope, like a TV show in a good way. Weekly review to camera, interview segment, then the workout. Really cool to see the evolution. Have you had any positive feedback from elite runners who might like to do the same? Yes, we have. There is a few good series coming to you very soon on YouTube. I'm not going to share any names just yet because I prefer that they announce it themselves, but the plan is to do many more of these into the future. Also with triathlon as well. The logistics are very tricky. It has to be, obviously being at least an 8-week training block you'd like to cover, or at minimum maybe 6. You need to be in the same place as the athlete, and the athlete obviously ideally needs to be completely on board, and it's a big process to produce these. It's quite a bit of work. But yes, to answer the question, there is more coming. There's a very exciting one that we're getting started with next week, actually, here in Boulder, and you'll learn more about that very soon. Greatly appreciating the questions, guys, coming through on YouTube. So if there's absolutely anything in your mind, whether you think it's a good question or not, please do pop them in the comments. I'm greatly appreciating all the questions coming through. Okay, so the 9th week of training started off with a 16.16 mile run at 7:07 pace with a few friends. I started this week really tired. The accumulation of mileage for me, I think, is really catching up with me. I think, and adding on top of that, the 2 gym workouts I'm doing a week on the Tuesday and the Friday. If there ever is a time that you're going to feel really fatigued and tired and waking up not being sure if you're able to get through that day's training, it's probably now. 4 to 5 weeks before is the peak of the block. So I definitely was tired going into this half marathon this weekend. But all in all, I think the week went pretty well. So 16.16 miles at 7:07 per mile pace. An 8-mile run on Monday morning with Lauren and Christina, 2 training partners, at 8:05 per mile. And then on Tuesday, a track session that I think went pretty well. Rick Rojas special. He prescribes this workout at least every month, and it's suitable to, I would say, any distance between 5K and a marathon. But it is 1,600 meters at the start and the end of the workout, and then in between the 2 1,600 meters, there's 8 sets of 400, 200. So you're going 1,600 meters, let's call it a mile, it's 9 meters short, but a mile, and then you'll take 4 minutes rest. Now that's at altitude, so if you're not at altitude, you might want to take 2 to 3 minutes rest, and then 8 sets of 400, 200. In between the 400, there'll be a minute recovery, just standing, and then after the set, 2 to 2.5 minutes we were taking, which I think if you weren't at altitude, you could have a similar recovery. I don't think you should cut down any more than that. But we were doing the miles, or the 1,600 meter efforts, in 4:57, which is about 3:04, I think 3:05 per kilometer. And the 400s in about 64, 65. I think there was 1 or 2 66s in there, but an average of, I think it was 65 low, and the 200s in 30 to 31. That was a very fun workout with Freddie Ovett and Tyler Butterfield. On the following, that afternoon, I did a 4-mile afternoon run. I filmed Sam Long the following morning, which was super fun. That episode's already online, so please do check it out if you are a triathlon Ironman fan. Then on the Wednesday morning, an 8-mile run, or 7.98 at 7:43 per mile pace. In the afternoon, a 5-mile run with my current housemate at 8:20 per mile. On the Thursday, a 11-mile run at 7:42 pace with Christina, Lauren, and Gwen Jorgensen. And then on Friday morning, I filmed Lewis Orta. His episode will come out very soon, in the next few days, as he prepares for the Copenhagen half marathon. I think he's going to do really well there. He's in terrific shape. And then I did my own half marathon tune-up workout where I did 10 miles, incorporating 3x1K, 4x500. I actually felt terrible this day, to the point where I was actually going to do 5x1K at around half marathon pace, but I was struggling doing 309s, like physically. Aerobically, I was fine, but I could tell my body was just hammered. I actually skipped out on Tuesday, the gym session. We did max deadlifts, and you're going to see footage from that after this summary. And I was really sore after that. We wouldn't have done that if it was a key race this weekend, but we were basically training through this half marathon this weekend. So I was actually a little bit concerned after that workout about the half marathon this weekend, because I really struggled. But I took the next day very easy in Seattle at 5 miles, or 5.19 miles at 7:46, and I felt a bit better that day. And then the half marathon was the following day. So an 82-mile week, which is about 130 something kilometers, 134 I think, something like that. A bit of a lighter week, but at the same time I feel like I really needed it. At this point I don't think there's any reason to be chasing mileage or trying to hit 100 miles a week. I don't really understand when people do that, especially at this point when you've already banked a whole lot of good weeks at once. If you're really tired, there is no point, in my opinion, to be chasing 100 miles or whatever it is per week. At this point, it's just trying to stay, avoid any injuries at this point, and just try to tick the boxes as much as possible. So that was the week in training. And the gym session on the Tuesday, which is obviously I've been doing the 2 workouts on the Friday and the Tuesday after the sessions. I didn't do a second one this week because Keith actually advised me to skip the second workout because I was so fatigued. It wasn't done, but you will see footage of the gym workout just after this summary. So that was the fourth last week of training. Only really 2 weeks to go of training before an easier week, and I'm really looking forward to freshening up for the Berlin Marathon. But until then, I hope you enjoy the gym workout with Keith that took place on the Tuesday.
All right, so we're going to film another gym workout with Keith today. So we've been doing this consistently twice a week for the whole block. I haven't actually missed a gym workout the whole time, which I'm proud of, I guess. Because there's been a few weeks where I've been quite tired and procrastinated a little bit on it and pushed the workout maybe a couple of days, but very thankful to have Keith here today to run us through a second strength and mobility workout today. So we'll see what we've got on the schedule, but I think we've got a little bit of lifting. So yeah, so what is the plan today, Keith?
Yeah, so we've kind of defaulted. I think last time we were in here with the camera, we were just getting started.
Yep.
Focusing on some hip extension, range of motion,
yes.
But now we're much further down the line. And what we've done kind of since is arrive at some movements that work really well for us to give you exposure to what's often called max effort, which is, a maximal voluntary contraction. And today, some of what we're doing is those contractions in kind of run specific positions, but we've also been doing heavy deadlifts, which is a much more general thing to load up your skeleton. So we'll get a heavy single for the deadlift today, which is the first time that we've done that few reps and that heavy, but we're starting with those isos first. So we'll do some hip cars, we'll do some moving the knee around and get loosened up, and then that's our first stop.
Perfect. Let's get started.
So we'll do our best to try to keep the pelvis right where it is in space. If that means your range of motion that your leg moves through gets reduced, that's no big deal.
Yep.
So next we can take that kind of split stance and plant the foot.
Yep.
And then we'll move the knee through the biggest circle that we can while keeping the foot planted.
Yep.
Okay, so last we'll just do some of these nice shallow jumping split squats, just meet the ground stiffly.
Yep.
We do about 20 of them, we'll be ready to rock.
Cool.
We've been doing these kind of run specific isometrics where in this position we're trying to assume kind of mid stance. We think about that classic sort of down step picture everybody's seen of them running, where the bar is right over the middle of the foot. By pushing my belly button forward, I get some knee bend, but not too much if my spacing and setup is right. And then I'm able to drive up through my feet to try to straighten my knee and push up into the bar. But that immovable object doesn't let me do that.
Yep.
This lets us get a really good maximal contraction for the quads right in the same position that we need to be strong running, because it lets us sort of reverse from lengthening to propelling ourselves forward.
Yep.
We have been doing 5-second contractions. I think last week we made the jump to 7 seconds.
We did.
So we'll ramp up to max effort, hold 7 seconds from there, and then that's one of your 3 reps each time. So same thing we've been doing.
Okay.
We'll do 3 rounds each.
3 rounds each side, 7 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, so what we'll do is remove one mat, maybe the other one too, and try to get set up for the same thing for kind of an ankle iso push.
Yep.
This might work for me, it might not. Maybe just slightly. We just have a slight bend in the knee, the heel is floating. Instead of the middle of the foot, it's the ball of the foot that's right underneath the bar, and then I'm able to drive up with calves. So this is a little too tall for me. We only want to be able to slide that sheet of paper under your heel. So let's set it up for you, and we can get right to it, and the rep scheme's the same, 7-second contractions. Okay, so we have been deadlifting for past 5 or 6 weeks. We did some weeks with sets of 6, then sets of 4, heavier as we go, sets of 2, and now we're arriving at a heavy single. When we say heavy single, we don't mean 1 rep max. We're not going to sell our soul, but we just want to get a good glimpse of what you're capable of on the day. And we've never had any working sets where we arrive at a weight and then do sets there. We're always just working up to kind of what our top weight feels like on the day. So we'll start here. When we're going to a heavy single, I like to use a format of 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, and then singles from there on. So we'll do a set of 5 here, and once we get up pretty heavy, we'll start adding those jumping split squats in as well.
Sure.
Which we've been doing week to week.
So we'll add that after the second or third set?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
maybe you can share the quick story about Meb doing the deadlifts?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I remember hearing on a podcast pretty recently kind of an anecdote about Meb Keflezighi when the winter before winning the Boston Marathon, he kind of incorporated some strength training as you do, and his deadlift improved from what I think was 0.75 body weight to 1.75 body weight.
That's pretty much what I'm at now, 1.75, as in max.
Yeah. I mean, your 1 rep today will likely be a bit more than that.
Yeah.
I think we'll get a double body weight rep out of you, likely.
That'd be 330.
We'll end up grabbing 30s, 35s, maybe 40s today. But these shallow jumping split squats kind of ask us to meet the ground with the same stiffness that we were practicing in those isos there. So we think about getting airborne and then just meeting the ground and not letting ourselves sink into that split squat very much at all. And we generally do about 20 jumps. Eventually, we want to have weight that makes it very difficult to not sink into the ground. And in fact, the magic here, as far as moving you towards not cramping late into a marathon, is a weight that does sort of force you to sink despite your best effort.
Yep.
So we'll end up there as we go, just like we're getting heavier with the deadlift. Okay. So we'll do about 20 jumps here.
Nice. It's crazy to think, I think the first time I did deadlifts, I think that was about where I was maxing.
It was less than that.
It was less than that.
The first
But
time we did
I've never done
sets of
deadlifts
6.
before this gym block in my life, so starting from 0. But yeah, it's been good to see the progress, for sure. I'd heard Nell talk a lot about incorporating them into her training, so yeah. See how heavy we can go today. Hopefully we can go double. I'm 164 pounds, so it'd be close to 330 to go 2 times body weight, so we'll see. Each side.
Okay, I'll do the math, but don't worry about that. We're doing 2, right?
Yes.
Did the first one feel kind of strange?
A little bit, yeah. Could you tell?
If we think about like the plane of the bar, if this was a straight bar,
right,
it was a little bit out in front of you.
Okay.
So like in initially picking it up, that had to drift backward.
Right.
And then the second one, you had it kind of going through your shins the way we wanted.
I could tell the first one was not quite, it felt too heavy for what it was, yeah.
And,
but the second one was fine. So
for the folks watching on YouTube, like often a deadlift will be done with a straight bar, and that's sport specific for the sport of powerlifting, but most runners would benefit from using a hex bar. So there's like this one right here, and this is sort of a special one that allows you to adjust the handles. We can easily change the range of motion of the lift, which is helpful. You don't need to be doing it quite as low as deadlift will often happen. And then the fact that this kind of the straight line of the bar can pass through your shins gives you a little bit better leverage and takes away some of the annoying form pieces of working with a straight bar. So that's why we've done this right from the get-go. But in your next setup, especially as we're about to go to singles from now, make sure that this is kind of lined up right through your shins.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we're going to split squats when you're ready. That was 2 reps at 257, so we're getting in the neighborhood of your heaviest. I think this is like 303 pounds. Okay, still looks like no big
Definitely
deal.
go a bit heavier, yeah.
Bar's moving pretty fast.
Yep.
This exercise is a really good example of like certain things we want to do in the gym where we get a choice between winning the battle or losing the battle.
Yep.
So there's a lot of reps that we want to do where we want to be really sharp and elastic and be stiff enough that we don't see any sinking in, but giving you a little bit of exposure to losing where the weight forces you to sink in is going to be good for building that tolerance that you need deep into the race, because it's the same way. You're going to win the battle for as long as you can, and then as you fatigue, you start losing and your ground contact times get longer and longer. There's more time under tension. You have to be able to tolerate that to make it through your race. So the gym is a good, safe environment to lose every now and then, whereas having that cascade of fatigue happen on your long run is probably not the best place for it. You don't want to lose during your runs. That's where you want to practice winning. I'm really comfortable having you lose in here every now and then. So if we nail it with this weight, we will see you be on the ground a little bit longer and sinking into that despite your effort not to let it happen.
Good.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
3,
I think
2,
5 or 10 pounds more would be okay. I don't know if any more than that I'd be able to do it, you know.
The good news is there's a big difference for most people between the amount of weight that they can pick up and then the amount of weight that they can deadlift. And the difference is understood by the deadlift. We need to have a certain kind of structural integrity for things. And like the weight's moving pretty fast, your position is solid, so there's plenty of margin, but we don't want to go into the territory where it starts not feeling strong anymore. Where there's like a major sticking point that you have to grind through or anything like that. So I think you're right on. Generally we think of 30 pounds or more as being a pretty confident jump, 20 pounds is pretty standard, and then a 10-pound jump, which we're about to do, is conservative.
Split squats?
Yeah, we'll do that, and that'll probably be our last set of those, and then our last set of deadlifts, and we'll call it good.
Nearly fell out of my hands.
Sure, yeah. I mean, especially if you're not a strength athlete, the grip can be the limiting factor. Upper back can be the limiting factor rather than your legs, but it was good.
Did that look okay? I felt like it was a little
yes.
awkward, but no? Okay.
You know, there's more in the tank, and if you needed to really drive your deadlift up to win prize money or something, then you sacrifice a little bit more, but for our purposes, all we're looking for is exposure, and this is definitely that. So,
okay.
Great.
Cool.
And I also feel like, you know, if we taught you, Jesus, if we taught you the deadlift, and asked you to work to a heavy single right away that day, you probably would have self-selected, no exaggeration, 130 pounds less than this as the heaviest you were willing to do. So it really does take some exposure over the course of weeks to get to the point where when we ask you to do something heavy, we can trust where you end up. So yeah, you have a double body weight deadlift, which is a good strength standard for, I think, a lot of runners to seek. I'm not warmed up. I'm probably gonna cramp here, but we'll see how it goes. So we are gonna sit collapsed on one knee, which is the non-working knee. By being collapsed down onto this leg, the pelvis is held still, and it makes it difficult or hopefully impossible for us to accidentally fake hip extension using our low back. The more sunk down on this I am, the more difficult it's gonna be. The higher up I am, the easier it's gonna be to lift, but it's also gonna be easier to bring the low back to the party. So we have to find a good sweet spot there. We're going to extend our straight leg and then keep that height and try to flex the knee and squeeze hamstrings really hard, and then extend and come back down. We're going super slow, and at the top of the movement where you squeeze, I'm gonna give you the ball to try to squeeze in between.
Okay.
But you're not keeping this between your leg. I'm gonna be the one holding it.
Okay.
Yep, drive up, so keep that height, and then come squeeze the ball. Squeeze, 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 drive this up, shorten completely, excellent, and then let go of the ball, keep the height of the knee, and come back down. Good. Do you wanna do all three on that leg?
Yep.
Okay, so drive up, find high hamstrings, and then bring the rest of it to the party, squeeze. So try to squeeze the ball and donkey kick at the same time. Up, 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 hamstrings, and let go. We really wanna kinda dare it to cramp. Up, squeeze. Squeeze, kick up, give me hamstrings.
I can feel it very close to cramping.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So we've got these two movements back and forth, so we're back at the
Yep.
leg extension. Do we
Okay.
think anything should change about the weight here? Is it kind of perfectly challenging?
I thought it was a little heavy to begin with, but then when I shifted back a little bit and noticed that I was a little bit too close to the weight,
Okay.
that was fine after that. So
It should feel like more weight than you could drive up with only one leg.
yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
You need two to get it up. So perfect.
3, 2.
Yep. Drive up. So let's get that slider body saw crunch here and try to not have that extension here. Right there, pure hamstrings, and then try to find the ball, give it a good squeeze. Try to pop it for 3, 2, 1, and relax. Did you feel how in order to get that squeeze, you had to let the knee drop?
Yep.
So we'll fight to not let that happen as best you can. Nice, keep that height of the knee, find it, squeeze, yes, yeah, good. Don't let me steal the ball. Back down. So, we got our ISOs again. Got a heavy single deadlift, and then we got some more just kind of quad and hamstring stuff, and hopefully we're just still on the right track. And
Yeah.
I know you kind of said it's never been an issue for you in a half marathon, but hopefully this weekend can be kind of the first test to see running in anger whether you feel
Yeah.
better or not.
For sure. Yep. We're going to continue to do this twice a week, all the way through to the week
Yeah,
of the marathon.
10th is your last day in town.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
we'll go this week, and we'll probably only meet one more time, and then you got to go.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. Cool. Do you recommend? I'm going to ask you this. Yeah, I'll ask you this now. I was going to ask you it later, but good for people to hear. On the week of the marathon, have you thought about what I might do that week? Would I be just doing a reduced volume set, or is it something you haven't thought about?
Is the race on a Sunday?
On Sunday.
So Tuesday or Wednesday would probably be a really good day to do those ISOs, because they give you the exact stimulus you want, like kind of reminding your body of that max effort feeling with no wear and tear,
Yeah.
right? It's no like extra reps or extra range of motion that can kind of beat you up. So I think we will give you something to do Tuesday in a gym if it can be managed, but it won't feel like anything more than a reminder. It'd be kind of the equivalent of the strides you do the day before the race. It's because the hay's in the barn at that point. Yeah, you're trying to just kind of stay sharp. So yeah, there's definitely interesting things that can be done for race week strength, but it's a reminder more than like a meaningful stimulus.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Thanks so much for everything so far, and yeah, so far so good.
Yeah.
Cool.